So never mind the 1%. Mini-Millionaires is where wealth is growing the fastest. And this is the latest from Mint. I don't even know whose website this is exactly, but I came across this on my feed this morning on some of the news stories that pop up. And it says that last week, the Federal Reserve revealed that last year, the average net worth of American families topped $1 million for the first time, surging 42% from $749,000 in 2019. Now, interestingly enough, this story was also shared on Reddit, and I'll give you a little bit of a Reddit reaction to some of the comments to this post. And the first one here says, frankly, $1 million USD isn't what it used to be. There are places in America where that won't even buy you a decent house. It's not surprising that with inflation, millionaires are more common, but it's not as if you can easily retire in the US with 1 million USD unless you have a fully paid off home or an arrangement that gives you free housing. And this is absolutely true. 100% correct. $1 million isn't a lot of money, really. It's not what people thought of it years ago. And realistically, you would need several millions of dollars in the right investment vehicles to outpace inflation and provide you with enough liquid cash in return on dividends and residual income to even consider retiring. And when you talk about buying homes, yeah, $1 million really now there was a time where I used to think that 300,000 to maybe 500,000 was going to get you a nice house. And now we're more like 750,000 to $1 million, really and truly. And it makes perfect sense. And the conforming maximum amount for a conforming mortgage loan has increased to somewhat substantiate my theory here. I had an original prediction that in order to turn things around, kind of get back on somewhat of a normal trajectory, we would have to see 15% interest rates on mortgages. That was at 30 years. I now may have to reanalyze and restate my prediction. And in order to really see things turn around, we may have to see mortgage loan term lengths increase beyond 30 years in order to bring back some form of housing affordability. We will see. The street says hold on to your hats because it's going to be a very big Fed week coming up. Today is Sunday, so we're going to see how this week plays out. Markets will gyrate right up until the Fed announces its interest rate decision. But don't forget that Apple reports quarterly results on Thursday and a big jobs report lands on Friday. This is just 12 hours ago, uploaded by the street. And it may be too much to say that the week coming up is the mother of all weeks for investors and markets, but it has the potential to be very dramatic. Comes after the 10-year Treasury yield briefly topped 5% on October 23rd, but ended the week at 4.84%. Yields at these levels haven't been seen since mid-2007. Stocks were volatile, to say the least. The Dow Jones Industrial, DJI, and IN were off 4 days out of 5. So I don't know how many of you guys are actually keeping up with this, but this in conjunction with what we're seeing out of Bank of America and JP Morgan Chase should have, like your spidey senses should be tingling right now. Maybe the Fed won't raise rates. What do you think? The Fed will announce November 1 whether it will raise its key federal funds rate from the current range of 5.25% to 5.5%. The answer may be no. If CME Group's Fed Watch tool is accurate, Wall Street fully expects the central bank to leave the rate where it is. Moreover, the tool, which tracks the projections of economists and analysts, suggests the rate will stay at 5.25% to 5.5% at its December 12, December 13 meeting, and the Fed had suggested one last rate increase might come this year. Investors would be stunned and would sell heavily if the Fed raised rates on Wednesday or at its December meeting. The betting now is the Fed is basically done raising rates, letting residual effects of rate increases since early 2022 and the bond market kill off the inflation pressures that erupted after the easing of the C-19 pandemic and its ultra low interest rates. That is, of course, if Chairman Jerome Powell is right and is careful in his answers in the news conference he will hold after the Fed announcement. And that said, the Fed and other central banks have been loudly criticized for some time because they were slow at reacting to the inflation threat. And central banks don't have a great forecasting record, as Jamie Dimon bellowed this past week. And again, Jamie Dimon is a huge person of interest right now, and we should all be paying attention to what he is doing. Fortunately, we have insight into that because of the amount of ownership he has in JP Morgan Chase and the family's ownership of shares. So his moves will be public. He can't risk not playing by the rules here because he's just too large of a target. Fortunately, that works out to our benefit, but we have to be, diligent. We have to be paying attention, and we have to be ready, willing, and able to swiftly take action based on what we see. Obviously, he's not going to try to do anything that's going to stimulate any sort of panic and chaos, but only time will tell. Now, this one here may not really come as a surprise or a shock to you, but if you're an American and you're living paycheck to paycheck, one of these, or maybe all three of these reasons, could be the reasons why. Reason being, before I get into these key points here, many Americans struggle financially due to rising living costs, increased housing debt, and little to no salary increases. Unfortunately, this makes it difficult for Americans to escape the paycheck lifestyle. Try making small changes like creating a budget to give yourself a boost. Again, these are the key takeaways here. The reason that we are discussing this is not to highlight anybody's particular financial burden and struggle, but to understand and identify the problems that we face so that we can actively form solutions to solve these problems and stop living broke, stop living paycheck to paycheck. Number one, the rising living costs. One reason many Americans struggle financially is due to rising living costs. When everyday costs increase, it can have a significant impact on your personal finances. For many people, housing is their priciest expense. While rental costs have cooled recently, median rental prices nationwide remain high. According to data from Zumper, the national median price for a one-bedroom rental is $1,505, and it's $1,862 for a two-bedroom rental. Average mortgage rates have pushed well above 7%, resulting in high housing costs for more recent homebuyers. Rising rent and mortgage loan costs can make it difficult to escape the paycheck lifestyle, especially for those in high cost of living areas. Number two, household debt continues to climb. Another reason Americans continue to live paycheck to paycheck is due to debt. Research from the Ascent found that total household debt in the U.S. continued to climb in 2023. Data from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York shows that household debt reached a record high of $17.1 trillion in the second quarter of this year, 2023, and credit card debt is a costly debt that many Americans have. The above study also found that Americans had $1 trillion in credit card debt in the second quarter of 2023, up from the $986 billion in the first quarter of this year. And credit card interest is expensive and can quickly get out of control. And the more your credit card bills climb, the harder it is to get out of debt. But again, understanding the problem, working towards solutions. Sometimes, again, we need to be paying attention to what other successful people are doing or have done in the past, and maybe bankruptcy could be a potential option. But you got to weigh out all the factors here. Number three, salaries are not keeping up with inflation. Many Americans have seen little to no change in their income despite rising living costs. A recent poll from the Associated Press, NORC Center for Public Affairs Research discovered that 2/3 of U.S. adults have experienced rising household expenses over the last year, yet only 1 in 4 have seen their income increase. When you have no choice but to pay more for necessary costs like food, housing, and utilities, it can be challenging to get ahead financially, especially if your income stays the same. Many people continue to fall deeper into debt, which makes their financial situation worsen. For Americans struggling with rising living costs and salaries that aren't keeping up with inflation, it may be worthwhile to consider applying for new jobs that offer more pay and better benefits. Another option is to negotiate a salary raise with a current employer. Finally, getting a part-time job or side hustle could allow you to boost your checking account balance. Small changes can make big differences. It's funny because I'm going to try to include a clip here of another creator, another YouTuber. I came across her video the other day. I reached out to her to ask her if she'd want to do a collaboration or an interview on the channel. And she and I share similar opinions about money and finance, especially some of the stories and tall tales and essentially lies that are being told on this platform that are essentially ruining the lives of so many different people from so many different perspectives when it comes to making money, spending money, growing money, saving money, investing money, trying to start something, trying to build something, trying to become wealthy, trying to build something. And honestly, obviously, I'm just one man. So I'm gonna tell you guys right now, there's no way that I could even begin to try to introduce enough change that would really turn it all around. But I will try to do my part. So we shared similar thoughts on money and making changes to improve your financial situation. And obviously, if you're very, very deep in the hole and things just seem so incredibly bad, it's going to be rather difficult to turn that around overnight. But the important thing here to remember is exactly what it says here. Small changes can make a big difference. So when you begin to start making these small changes, you will then, and you maintain your consistency, begin to see big differences over time. But I'm not going to talk your ear off with that one. I'll show you guys the clip, and maybe one day we'll have a collaborative video together where we can talk about these things and really dive into these discussions and conversations. Something that I'm interested in is Forbes has released here on their consumer tech. The Samsung confirms exciting Galaxy 24 Ultra upgrade. Now, obviously, as a creator, I'm actually recording this video right now, bringing it to you using my Sony ZV-1, which is it's a favorite of mine, but I just haven't used it here recently. And my audio is completely different because I'm not using my DJI wireless mic and I'm using my Rode, trying to think which damn Rode mic this is. This is the Rode Video. Yeah, this one's the Rode Video Mic Plus Premium or 2. I think it's the Plus. Rode Video Mic Plus. So that's the mic that I'm using today. Completely different setup. But the reason why this interests me is because I usually record my videos and bring you this content using my Samsung S23 Ultra. And I have my Sony ZV-1, my Samsung S23 Ultra, got my kid's iPhone 13 Pro, which is probably going to be an iPhone 15 Pro Max at some point in time. Don't tell her. We're using, what else do we have? I had a DJI Pocket. Trying to think of the other camera. I got 2 GoPros. Actually, I got a Hero 8 and a Hero 11 Black. And I think that's it for video besides my drone. But this interests me because this phone is amazing. And my S20 FE before this was great. So I can only imagine what the S24 Ultra is going to be like. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm a little bit of a tech geek, tech nerd, so it is what it is. Shout out to MKBHD. He's one of my favorite tech content creators on YouTube. And it says that the last month of Galaxy S24 leaks have offered us a clear view of Samsung's next flagship. Now the South Korean company has joined in, confirming an exciting new feature for the Galaxy that will debut next year. The details come from Samsung System LSI CEO Park Yong-in. Speaking at Semiconductor Expo 2023, Yong-in confirmed that the Galaxy S24 handsets will support satellite connectivity for emergency services. This is not a new feature for consumer smartphones. Apple introduced a similar service in last year's iPhone 14 family, which is carried over to the iPhone 15 family. Other handsets have picked up on the feature, and Samsung's implementation may follow a similar path to the competing handsets. Still, the Galaxy's place in the Android ecosystem means the inclusion will legitimize the idea of satellite smartphone services and encourage other manufacturers to add the feature to their high-end handsets. The South Korean company is expected to launch the Galaxy S24 and S2 Plus and Galaxy S24 Ultra early in 2024. The traditional launch window is mid-February ahead of Mobile World Congress, although there are suggestions that a launch in January is being considered. Now, this actually is really, really interesting because this has nothing to do with the actual features of the phone that would have any impact or change in the video quality or the audio quality of the content that I create. But this does definitely interest me, as some of you are aware that we have recently become certified so that we can take our boats into the open waters offshore. With that being said, part of our basic loadout should include some way of satellite communication if somehow we get stranded, lost at sea. And having that added feature of having satellite connectivity through an S24 on your phone is just, you can never have too many backup plans. So I like that. I really do like that. Another one here is from TS2, and I'm not really sure who TS2 is, but again, these are just being shown to me when I scroll my feed every morning for the latest and greatest. And it says that Toyota's new battery breakthrough could revolutionize electric vehicle industry. Now, typically this would be something I would cover on my car channel, but on the car channel, we're more focused on specific brands, more so Porsche. But this one, I think, it's a cool story, as Toyota's new battery breakthrough could revolutionize electric vehicle industry. And I'm very curious on where the evolution and revolution of electric vehicles are going to go. There's been a lot of talk here recently about the EV automotive world. Honda cutting ties with GM because Honda basically said we can't make affordable electric vehicles, but also GM backing out saying that they can't produce either. Obviously, I think the strike has a lot to do with that, but there's a lot of other contributing factors here, in addition to a huge push for hydrogen powered vehicles. So zero emissions doesn't have to be electric, or electric in the traditional sense that most would think of. Innovation, evolution. Toyota is on the brink of revolutionizing the electric vehicle EV industry with its latest battery breakthrough. The company's new solid-state battery has the potential to double the range of most EVs, boasting an impressive 745-mile range. What sets this battery apart from its competitors is its remarkable charging time, and it can be fully charged in just 10 minutes. This breakthrough in battery technology could be the driving force behind the widespread adoption of EVs in the coming years. Historically, limited battery range and lengthy charging times have hindered the mass adoption of EVs. Consumers have been reluctant to embrace this new technology, fearing the inconvenience of having to constantly recharge their vehicles after driving a limited number of miles. However, Toyota's new battery addresses these concerns head on, offering a game-changing solution. This to me, it's funny because every time I see and read and hear about these things and hear some of the views of Toyota's prototypes here and renderings, but it makes me think of a movie. So yeah, I'm a tech nerd, I'm a car nerd, I'm a YouTube nerd, and I'm a movie nerd. And it makes me think of a movie, and the movie was, I believe it was Night and Day. Pretty sure it's Night and Day. Yeah, so the movie was Night and Day, and it was Tom Cruise and what's her name? Something about Mary. What's her name? What is her name? Cameron Diaz. God, oh, I'm getting old. So in the movie, if you guys have seen it and you know what I'm talking about, if you haven't seen it, this is kind of a spoiler alert, but basically the movie is, I think there's a lot of truth to the movie. And essentially there's something in the movie called a Zephyr. At least that's what they call it. That's what they describe it as. And it says here, I'll just read what content.time.com says. And it says that the Zephyr, the action in Night and Day revolves around a much sought after technological breakthrough codenamed Zephyr, a sea-sized battery that can power a submarine and never runs down. Tom Cruise's character, super spy Roy Miller, describes this wonder as the first perpetual energy source since the sun. And, it's almost like also it's like Mission Impossible, and Benji's talking about, yeah, when I hear about, certain tech like this, it reminds me of a philosopher in college or in university. And it's like, he calls it the Antichrist. Basically, it's very, very powerful, could potentially be very, very good, but it's also very, very dangerous for obvious reasons. So when I hear things like this, it makes me think of these movies where, then you got to think these movies include Tom Cruise, and these movies then in essence will include some form of Scientology behind them. But regardless, The simple fact is that if Toyota could reasonably produce this tech, essentially doubling or tripling the range time of electric vehicles and batteries and reducing the charge time, that could be dangerous. Like, it could be really, really dangerous for a variety of reasons, which we will go into at a later date if you guys care to know my thoughts and opinions on that. But either way, hope you guys have a great day. Enjoy your Sunday, and I'll see you guys real soon. Take care.